When he arrived in the Redbird Valley, Dr. John DeWall was overcome with inspiration. He remarked, "When the Lord made the lands surrounding Redbird and the Cumberlands, he made a great creator's masterpiece. As if in a happy, playful mood, he piled the rocks and dirt into high, majestic mounds. Then he clothed those mounds, like Jacob's favorite son, with a coat of many colors, colors of green and amber and scarlet and gold. Then with a mighty finger, he traced a course for the mountain streams. In the summertime, these streams happily chant a great creator's praise. In the rainy season, they roaringly declare his mighty power. Over all this grandeur and beauty, the Creator has stretched a canopy of the bluest blue, set in the daytime with the most dazzling sunlight, and in the nighttime with the brightest starlight and whitest moonlight of any place in the world." Deep within the forests of eastern Kentucky is a mission community of refuge and hope. The mountain people of these hollers refer to it simply and affectionately as Redbird. This mission has been in operation for nearly 100 years. The dedicated staff and countless volunteers are committed to bringing relief and support to the people of this mystical region. What makes the Redbird mission so unique is its methodology. This effort seeks to partner with the mountain people of Appalachia, providing them encouragement and the resources to lift themselves out of sometimes dire circumstances and into a more hopeful future. Nearly 3,000 volunteers from all over the United States make the trek each year to bring relief to the people of Central Appalachia. Tens of thousands are in need here, and here we will find a wonderful exchange of culture and spirit between the volunteers and the mountain people they have come to serve.
When that was taken, that's years and years ago.
Reva Hubbard is an 88-year-old who lives alone in her sparsely populated holler. She explains why she first contacted the people at the mission.
I got me some ribs on me cooking. Why, they come a windstorm here, and it blowed part of a roof off of the house back here, and I couldn't get nobody to get up there and nail it back down. Well, I picked the phone up and I called over, and a man by the name of John answered me, and I said, "John," I said, "my house, part of it is blowed off the top of it." Well, he said, "Honey, I'm sorry I can't come there today." That was on a Friday. But he said, "I'll be there Monday morning." And on Monday morning, just a little later I got out of the bed, while he was out here in the yard looking at the house. And they come straight on and put me on the top over here.
Her sister lives right over here. Sister comes up every day and checks on her and brings her food and really takes very good care of her. And it's just the two of them left out of 8 siblings and their parents.
The working conditions in small homes can often be cramped. Working in a home up in a holler called Fish Trap These volunteers are quickly learning to be flexible and resourceful on the job site.
Should be a 916, that's a full set. Take that back to Chuck. Not that one, the next one down. There you go.
Mary suffers from macular degeneration. She can see some light and she can get around her house by herself.
I've had cataract surgery in both eyes. That's when they found out I had a macular degeneration disease. That's what's wrong with my eyes.
But Mary does not allow her troubled eyesight to impair her sense of humor.
I don't have very much of a sight. I can't read. I've not read my mail in 10 years.
She tells the story about a volunteer from the mission that she recently encountered and for whom she has developed a fondness.
A group here from Oklahoma and Kansas, and one of the neighbors' hens was here. They was trotting around here, got over in the corner there and laid. She laid and she started cackling, and he said, this woman said, "What's that hen a-saying?" He said she's a-saying that she's laid, and you leave her egg alone, she don't want touched. He said, "Oh, Murray, you ain't supposed to tell that."
There was a fire inside the trailer, and there was obvious smoke damage and fire damage inside the trailer. Justice was in his mid to late 40s, and he had been involved in a fairly serious motorcycle accident, so he was still in the process of recovery.
Different kind of bugs. Two little black bugs, they'd still eating on it. So I jump up every morning and put bug dust on it. And they had that dew on it, so it stuck on it pretty good. I ordered that now for electric bugs. I did, and they shipped it to me, and I planted it there. Ordered that, and them 4 little bushes up there, and these 5 little trees, bushes back here. Back in there.
My name is Elaine, and I'm from upstate New York, Webster, New York. I'm a dental hygienist. She lost her trailer to a fire, and she's had this replacement trailer for a year.
My name's Harry. I'm a 61-year-old retired railroad engineer from Manlius, New York, which is right near Syracuse. A couple of knowledgeable people here. The rest of us are sort of, you tell me where to put the nail and I'll do it.
She was a truck driver, had her truck roll over, and she was in pretty bad shape. It's falling down in all regards. I mean, it's the roof leaks, the ceiling's falling down. This is her family's mountain. She's lived on this place for 32 years.
Each team of volunteers is assigned a crew leader from the mission. Such is the case with Tim Baugh. Tim is a new addition to the mission staff. 1 year ago, Tim's family was abruptly cast homeless. While having their mobile home positioned on their new home site, an accident during the move severely damaged the structure. The trailer was literally broken in half across the middle. They quickly purchased another mobile home, but it was uninhabitable, so they contacted the mission. Nearly every corner of the structure required work, from setting the foundation to preparing the roof for a new coat of sealant to connecting the sanitary sewer line and installing windows. The volunteers worked alongside Tim's family. Their daughter Amber picks up a shovel to help dig the trench so that the new sewer line can be placed. Their son, Nicholas, is an energetic, curious young boy. One of the volunteers is an 11-year-old girl named Savannah. She becomes fast friends with Amber and Nicholas. The kids take up the task of setting posts that will support the steps to the front door. Thanks to the aid of volunteers down from Indiana, the home will be ready for Tim's family within a few days. The need goes much farther than repairing homes. Tracy Nolan is the Director of Community Outreach. She and members of her staff, working in conjunction with state and federal programs, are mounting a response to the hunger problem.
Community aid services like the food bank, Redbird Missionary Conference right now is helping to purchase the food. We use God's Pantry out of Lexington.
I'm Bob Green from Centralia, Missouri. I'm a commodity tech. I've been well trained. I'm proud to be here. I'm serving Jesus Christ.
Some residents are able to drive themselves to the mission, but many others are family members, picking up the boxes for their elderly parents or grandparents. On this day, basic food resources will be distributed to approximately 168 residents, mostly elderly, sometimes disabled.
Oh, I forgot all about the curd, Edmund. Did I give you one for Lola? All right, next month I should have more. You doing all right?
Oh, well, yeah, I took a cold, but I'm kind of getting over it.
Well, good.
But the need continues even beyond housing and food.
This is the clothing that is brought in from various loads, and we start stacking it here.
Craig Dial is the Director of Economic Opportunities. He oversees a seemingly impossible task of receiving, processing, and distributing an enormous volume of clothing and other household items.
It provides clothing for people at low prices. It has 9 full-time employees. Our sales are about $245,000 a year. Early in the 20s, the missionaries were handing out the clothing, and one of the gentlemen who gave the land to the mission to have the school said, "You ought not to do that. These people have some pride." And so since then, the mission has always charged a little something for clothing, because when you pay for clothing, you have a sense of ownership, and you also have a sense of providing for your families.
In the year 2000, it became apparent that more space was needed in order to stage a larger response. So the mission mobilized a team of volunteers yet again. This time, they were given the task of building the warehouse to support the community store's growing inventory. When the structure was complete, the first trucks began to roll in. The small team of employees that work here, along with the occasional volunteers, process nearly 40,000 cubic feet of donated items each year. And each item is inspected by hand, one article at a time. It will be sorted, categorized, cleaned, and made ready for the showroom floor.
When people look at this and see all this that's in front of them, they say, well, that looks like that's going to be really impossible to do. And I say, don't tell them it's impossible. They don't know that.
Always been interested in public health and community health nursing, but I wanted a deeper purpose in life. We have to partner with the local government, with churches, with individuals to make a difference. It's a whole community effort. clients come in, I don't necessarily see them as a client that is beyond help. I see them as a child of God that has just burdened or is in a very difficult, challenging place. It does come with some sadness. There are some difficult situations where families find themselves struggling for a long time, or we don't come out with a solution that fixes everything, but definitely may improve things, or lessen the pain, or lessen the hardship. I want them to feel good about themselves so they can go home and enjoy their family and look forward to the future, and then hopefully in return they'll want to give back, and it'll be a better place, a wonderful community for my children to grow up in, and I look forward to continue to serve for many years to come.
Well, I just picked me some 4-leaf clovers. This one Vera picked. Here's the 5-leaf. See the 5th leaf right in the center? Got 5 little leaves in there. Extra good luck.
Our Beverly is an awesome lady. She is one of a kind. Nothing is ever going to get her down. She tells us there is no grass going to grow under her feet.
I got bird poop on me. A bird doo-dooed on me. Jeepers. Good thing I didn't look up at him. I would have got pooped in the eye. Yeah.
Back at Bell's Fork, the volunteers are gaining more insight into Miss Mary's strength and resilience.
Technology and all the stuff that we, take for granted. She doesn't, but she gets that that's not the message. She gets, that she lives here in this beauty and that she's truly blessed. And I think we lose touch with that.
I laughed the whole week at that man. But it was so funny how he said that he was the boss at his house. And then when his wife was around, he just as mute as he could be.
The volunteers learned that you have to be on your toes when you're around Miss Mary. In one particularly striking moment of playfulness, Mary takes a shot at the cameraman.
Pretty you good. Can standing around being nosy.
Just off Kentucky Highway 421, volunteers are working to shore up the floors of the home of Lucy Collins. Miss Lucy is well known in these parts for her vibrant face, her love of her community, and her music. She is a strong, energetic mountain woman.
This is my piece of ground here. I own 8 acres here. All this mountains here. I own way against that big pine.
The filmmaker recalls the day he met Miss Lucy in her home.
Your house.
Uh-huh.
I said hello, and you jumped up and hugged me like I was a nephew.
You hooked up with Redbird, that's why, bro. Huh? You asked what you were here and see what you hooked up with Redbird.
Then the filmmaker asked Miss Lucy to share her secret of happiness.
I'm trying to get saved, brother. And I've got a friend praying for me. Praise the good Lord. He's praying for me. Been over here today. And I cooked him a good meal and started home with him. And he can't marry. He can't marry anymore. He's a preacher. He prays for me. And he takes me to church. So that's what makes me happy.
Redbird Mission campus is like a small city deep in the hollers of Appalachia. It has its own health clinic, community store, dentist, cafeteria, living quarters for the staff and volunteers, and yes, a little recreation. It even has its own sewage treatment plant. But the machinery is very old and in desperate need of replacement. The old hospital has now been turned into offices for the mission staff. The building is currently being plagued by roof leaks. Redbird has an inventory of nearly 70 buildings and 50 vehicles. Every building is vital to the mission. And as the buildings get even older, the list of repairs grows longer. Nearly 50 people, including their families, call Redbird their permanent home. And as the volunteers surge into the campus from week to week, the number of people living and working from this bustling village can grow into the hundreds. The Redbird Mission gets its name from the Redbird River, which runs just beside the mission campus. In Cherokee tradition, the redbird has great significance in their stories of creation. It is believed the name Redbird means daughter of the sun. In the early 1900s, this land was untamed and hostile. The people of this area, even then, struggled to survive in this isolated land. The Evangelical Church sent 2 men to visit the area. Traveling by mule, Dr. Niebel and Bishop Mays remarked at the time, "We have never seen a more real need anywhere." Sophia Roberts, who lived in the nearby town of Hyden, walked the journey to the village of Beverly once a week, just to get the mail. As she walked, she observed young men doing little with their time, unproductive and receiving no training or education. So she crossed the mountain each week and stopped at a particular rock to pray that a school would be built. In 1921, the first workers arrived, and construction began on a new school building. The land and materials were donated by the Knuckles family who lived in the area. That same year, the Reverend Dr. John J. DeWall arrived from Iowa with his wife and family. He came to help the missionary board in their endeavor to bring education to the people of Central Appalachia. He was appointed the first superintendent of the school. There were no doctors in the Redbird Valley when the DeWalls arrived in 1921. And for many of the residents here, the journey to see a doctor could take as long as 12 hours. And the passage was dangerous and plagued by thieves and men with violent, desperate tempers. For 60 years, the mission school thrived at what is known as the Beverly campus. In 1981, the school and gymnasium were destroyed by fire. The cause of the blaze remains a mystery.
The school is a K-12 school. Tuition is very low and it works on a sliding scale. Tuition is not what keeps it going. Gifts are basically what keep it going. And it is easily over $1.5 million a year to run.
Bob Ferguson was the Director of Education and Principal of the Redbird Mission School for 15 years.
Redbird School has been a tradition in the Valley. With the number of teachers and the number of students, we can really provide almost a one-on-one relationship in a lot of cases. And a lot of times the children that come to our school would be lost in the larger schools. But when we get them here, they seem to excel in a lot of ways. About 2/3 of our students will go out and go to further education each year. And so I think that's quite an accomplishment.
Herman Asher is the newly appointed school principal. His appreciation for and commitment to the students and staff here is evident in his comments.
I just feel we have a wonderful school, wonderful staff. They care about each other and they care about the kids. And that's one thing I really like about it. And I stress that when I try to hire a new staff member, is making sure that that staff member cares for our kids and relates to them and somewhat really takes their interest at heart, that they can get them through what they need to get through.
Tanya is the school secretary, and she has a very personal connection to the school.
I started Redbird in the 5th grade. I was a student here and was here until I graduated. Being able to give back to a place that gave me so much, they gave me just so much. We have 225 students and I know all their phone numbers by heart.
2 times 2 equals...
Working with these children is just such a blessing.
In many instances, some of our students who do not have the home life, or because parents have died or other reasons, they're kind of on their own and the atmosphere is not good, that in the dormitory program we can provide a loving, caring home life for them. And our dorm parents are just like mothers and fathers to all these students. And several have gone on to school and accomplished great things that probably would not have done so if it had not been for the dormitory program.
Mary Allen is a senior at the Redbird Mission School. Mary has lived in the student dormitory on campus for the last 2 years of high school.
I've been to so many schools where my parents have been divorced since I was 6. And it's really helped. After I graduate here, I'm hoping to go to York Technical College or Winthrop University in South Carolina to either be a special education teacher or a photographer.
She explains that without the dorm program, she might not have enjoyed the same success in school that has brought her to graduation day.
I'm the first one on my mom's side of her kids to graduate and go on to college.
Her mother is really proud of her.
Within the last 3 or 4 years, it's really been a year-to-year operation. We never know if it's going to survive more than 2 or 3 years out because of funding issues.
We didn't have enough funds to operate the school. We did not.
These people in this culture have lived here for 200 plus years. It's more than just home. It is the absolute root of their existence. These wonderful people that are called mountain people. And the most wonderful blessing is the fact that they trust you from the first time they meet you until you prove otherwise. You're enabling people to see the hope and the possibilities they have, and the result of that is they realize they are good. They're just good people to be around. It just leaves you with a good feeling. If you spend some time with them, you can't help but walk away feeling good about that day. The Redbird Mission is considered to be one of the most comprehensive mission sites in the world.
A lot of these moms are so isolated that they don't have anyone to talk to and carry on conversation about just the things they're going through every day. And so when the home visitor goes out, she's someone there that they know they're going to see every month. Sometimes they talk about the things that are planned on. They talk about the child's development. They talk about where they are, making sure they're getting their doctor's visits, their well baby visits, their immunizations. And sometimes they just talk about the challenges that the mom is going through at the time. If dad was laid off, if he's just not in the picture, things that they're worried about every day, the concerns they have for their children. When the home visitor leaves, that mom knows that someone was listening to her and cared about what was going on in her life. When one of our moms was interviewed by Vanderbilt University, she told them that she would go to her My How home visitor for information and help before she would ask her own mother. So that was the biggest compliment our program could have had.
In 1972, we started the ECD program, and we used the van to haul the children. We'd pick up the children and take them to the local church for a group session.
We work hard to transition our families from My How to the ECD program.
Despite the stereotype, the mountain people of Appalachia place quite a high value on education. Set back in remote hollers and separated by winding, unforgiving roads, it is often the context and not the culture that present barriers. But that is a reality that leaves many children deprived of the basic foundations for learning.
Once children graduate from My How, many of them go into the ECD program here at Redbird Mission. That's early childhood development. It helps them learn social principles. They learn to follow rules, take instructions, socialize with one another. So it's a very important transition and very healthy to get them school ready. We find that a lot of the children that come to our program, they would not have gone on to a preschool or a Head Start. So I think Redbird Mission's ECD program is a good response to that need. It does follow a lot of the Kentucky core curriculum standards, and it prepares them to know their colors. They're working on their names. They are tying books in with curriculum and storytelling. So it's exciting, but it's extremely educational, and it prepares them for kindergarten.
The Mission Clinic has been an invaluable source of support and compassion for this community. Sharon Fogelman is the Director of Mission Healthcare Services. She and her husband, Dr. Lynn Fogelman, are the clinic doctors.
Here at Redbird Clinic, our patients are in what's called the Coronary Valley area of the United States. We're known to have the highest percentage of stroke and heart attack. We have the highest percentage of adults and teenagers who smoke in this state, and therefore it leads to a lot of chronic medical problems. My husband Lynn and I served together in a very rural hospital in Kenya in East Africa. We found most of the patients did not have any money to pay for their hospital stays or for the medicine. That's very similar to our patient population here at Redbird Clinic. We have many who do not have medical insurance and have no resources that they can fall back on to provide even transportation or the medications that they need for their health problems. Fortunately, we have many concerned people who send in donations that help us provide a supplemental health care program, which is basically a sliding scale program. So that helps many who otherwise would go without their medicines or without the care. that they are needing.
Dr. Kaiser is the clinic dentist, a challenging job in this part of the country. Appalachia has been ranked number 1 in the nation for toothlessness. Dr. Kaiser and his modest staff treat nearly 3,000 patients each year.
If you're not exposed to the outside world, you end up having problems that come from living in a small, isolated community.
Sometimes, not as often, sometimes the microphone right here,
Yeah.
that doesn't get blocked as often because that's on the outside. I don't imagine you wore earplugs, did you, when you were working around the noisy machinery?
Well, no, drove trucks took off, no, end loaders, and you name it. Dozers.
Well, what we're going to do is make some molds for you to get you some hearing aids. That'll make a big difference for you.
Yeah.
Gertrude Blady is a nurse midwife, and she has delivered, I don't know how many babies here. They have a plaque in the medical center with little baby bracelets with the names of every child she delivered at the Redbird Hospital.
I came home in May 65, and was on deputation. And in November, I think it was, I got the mission board said I should report at Redbird 1st of January 66. At first, the doctors were not looking for a nurse midwife, just a nurse. I was hoping I could go to Redbird, but I wasn't going to tell God where to send me. This is the Redbird Hospital when I first arrived there. And that was the nurse's home, you know, it's behind the hospital. It was a young 16-year-old girl came to prenatal clinic, and she was scared to death. 3 months pregnant about, that's all. But she just, she was just so scared. But that way I had 6 months to work with her and train her and talk to her and help her. And when she finally came in to deliver, her delivery really was what is normally a little difficult. But she did beautifully. She cooperated with her body and breathed, and she did a wonderful job. I was just proud of her. Many of the husbands, some of them, I guess, didn't care about. And this one man, just after the baby was born, he came walking up the hall of Redbird Hospital there, you know, he went, never wished it for anything, never would miss it for anything. He got so excited. I delivered 1,514 mothers. Well, some of them at Redbird, they always want to know what their number was, you know. I got the doctors educated to use a nurse midwife. They would say to their patients, be sure you do what Gertrude tells you to do and you'll have an easier time.
They say you're supposed to get 50-foot tall. Way around. That might be a great shade tree.
It's been a really great week to spend with Justice. With all of his health problems, he never complains. He never says, woe is me. He accepts who he is, and he does things joyfully. His faith is amazing, and he, in his very quiet way, will share that with you if you get to spend some time with him.
I think he was very appreciative of all the efforts that we put in on his home. I was diagnosed with a peripheral neuropathy The large nerves that innervate my feet and hands are slowly dying. I tend to stumble a little bit, and it's difficult sometimes for me to use my hands. I found a couple of jobs where I could sit down pounding nails and cleaning up after some of the difficult work that were just right up my alley. If you think about taking a mission trip, don't worry about your ability, what you can do, because no matter how handy you are or unhandy you are, there are things to do.
And you see your pretty flowers?
You can just see God working every day, and it's just been a beautiful thing to see that happening.
And this is my first time to come for work camp. And I've enjoyed being off the beaten path to see back in the mountains what is here at Redbird. And it's truly been a blessing this week to work on this lady's house and paint her house for her. And we hung a new wind chime on her porch this morning. And just to be a blessing to her. And I talked to a gentleman last night who's excited because a work team's coming to work on his mother's house for him and help his whole family because we're helping his mother.
With so many elderly residents living alone in isolated areas, the need for socialization is very important, and the mission has recognized this need and offers a sanctuary for local residents. It is well known for one very special reason. When the ladies of this center get together, they create some of the most beautiful and culturally exquisite quilts you'll ever see.
The women at the Senior Center, they're fabulous. When we first met a lot of them, they lived in extremely rural communities, very far from one another. We don't receive transportation reimbursement to do extra events, so that they pay their own way by crafting. The women are very proud of what they create.
Hey, one day, one fellow up at Redbird, he used to come up here, and he come out, he's out, I'm gonna tell you that there. And he come up here, and he's been from Pennsylvania, he got 3 little children. He always wanted to act like he wanted to, I hate to put that in there, Daddy.
It's all right, Maury.
He act like he wanted to flirt, but I wouldn't have it.
I'm originally from Illinois, been in Kentucky since 1994, so I'm a Kentuckian now.
The man in charge of coordinating nearly 3,000 volunteers each year is Dennis Sparenberg. His office and his home are both located in the part of the mission campus known as Work Camp. Dennis knows many of the residents in this area well, and he, as well as anyone here, understands that family tragedy is often a heartbreaking part of their story.
Lucy and Linda have had their struggles.
I love Redbird so much.
Linda lost her dad, Lucy her husband, in 1994 in a car wreck to where Linda was almost killed as well. They've struggled making a go of it, listening to her sing and sitting in their house visiting with them. Never downbeat, no matter how bad it seems to be. Always upbeat about what can happen.
Well, it won't matter. Well, over yonder, when I reach the other side, I'm gonna sit down beside my Jesus, satisfied. I'm satisfied.
I might have some here. Let me see out here. Or not. No, I've got some somewhere, but we're at it.
I know this experience we're having is teaching us in a way we never imagined. Miss Mary said this morning that she was blessed, but I believe we're the ones receiving the blessing, as this lady seems to know something that most of us only aspire to.
Well, God give us life, and we're supposed to enjoy it, is how I see it. Gave us life. I've had a lot of hard times in my life, but I never carried it around on my shoulder. My sister, you know, we're as much a difference as daylight and dark. And but I had one brother that was just like me. One that my mom built that little house for out there, and he got killed down here on the road. He got hit with a car. He got to getting out on the road walking, and he was younger than me. I tried to keep him here. I begged him that evening not to go down the road. And sometimes I want to get rid of that little house out there, but I can't.
It's a five-leaf here. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, how could you miss all these? I can't believe I brought you out
We
here.
were overlooking them. Here's another one. I'm looking over a four-leaf clover that I overlooked before. I was here yesterday. So that's why I overlooked them.
She'll be right back over here next year.
You wouldn't know it at first glance, but Vera's family is still recovering from a terrible incident involving her sister and brother. Vera's sister, Terry, tells the story of what happened.
The right arm and the right leg was broke twice. Yeah, they thought there my neck was probably broke. All of my main extremities were broke, and my pelvis was broke in 4 places. When the truck stopped, I pretty much knew I had 2 broke arms, and everything kept popping and cracking and burning, and I'd feel burning and popping sensation.
She and her brother were in an automobile accident. He was killed. She had every bone in her body broken.
The tie rod on the truck broke, and it went from this side of the road to that side, and it went into a big rock wall. There were 2 people that went past us after the accident. They never offered to stop. And there was a nurse that was going from Memorial to Redbird. And she stopped. And she said, honey, he said, do you need help? And I said, Lord have mercy, yes, we need help. And she's the one that called 911. They used the jaws of life on my door. And I think he lived about 2 hours after the accident.
She has a tub that's too high and she can't get in it. We're going to take the old tub and modify it and make it lower so she can get in.
Need some help?
You look at her today, 2 years later, and she shouldn't have been able to walk. And yet, she pushed and she pushed until she was able to walk. She was determined.
As a lot of people would say, well, I bet a quarter she never walks no more. Some point they thought they would have to amputate that leg. And I told the surgeon, I said, you better pray real hard. I said, you got to pray harder. I said, there just won't be any days like that where I'm going to let go of that leg. So I got through it. Well, let's make sure that my hair is all right.
Oh,
This is my new friend, Terry.
This is my new friend, Leah.
Hi.
We got done with it
Anna.
Thursday.
Tim Baugh and his family were able to move into their new home, and Tim has committed himself to being a dedicated and compassionate crew leader at the mission. Over the past year, he has assembled a scrapbook, and the many volunteers that he has worked with have filled its pages with stories of thanks and appreciation.
That was from Kansas. Well, the way I look at it is the crews that I get to meet, I'm the thumb and they're the finger. It ain't so many, how many boards or nails and screws that you can put down on somebody's house. It might be just going out and maybe touching someone. Well, I had one lady this year, she lost her husband about 4 months prior to us going out there. And I mean, it was amazing, and more or less this crew got to pull her out of her shell. And I mean, she was standing in tears when I left up there, when the crew left. And, you know, it touches me that all these people come down here and to help out other people. And, you know, God blessed me with all good crews. Actually, the ones in this book right here, I wished I could get back, because, which I know there's a lot more awesome groups out there, but you know, I worked with these.
Many not-for-profit community service organizations in the nation, as compassionate as they may be, are yet unable to effectively provide services and resources to this part of the United States. The challenging terrain, the scattered populations, and cultural uniqueness make it difficult for many of the traditional service organizations to operate here. But Redbird has worked exclusively in this area since the 1920s, and it has developed a unique, comprehensive approach to community service.
There's really no industry in this area to speak of other than the coal mines. Beyond the mines, there's really nothing within a reasonable distance as far as employment goes other than the mission. Economic opportunity buys crafts from local crafters, gives them a monthly income, and we do pretty well. We sell those crafts, and those local crafters are able to make more and sell more to us. Some of these crafters are a dying breed. There aren't too many people out there left.
One of the things we did with Ray is his initial products were just simply painted figures. And so we said, what else do you like to do? Which is actually a rather typical question. And so in his case, he liked doing scroll saws. If we can help someone get the idea, they can make quantum jumps in what they produce, and they go way above and beyond anything that we ever anticipated for them. He found out, for instance, instead of cutting out one ornament at a time, he cuts out 6. You're enabling people to see the hope and the possibilities they have, and the result of that is they realize they are good. This goes in the other room. Yeah, this will go in the other room too. And then also we work with the crafters to see if we can improve their method of production, their acquisition of raw materials, the things that can help them increase the amount of money they can make. And then to perhaps, if they want an opportunity to be an entrepreneur, help guide them on forward into ways that they can start shipping, doing wholesale sales and those kind of things to make them responsible for their own marketing system. I think the best example of is that when we work with a craftsperson until they get so good at what they're doing, and so many people are ordering from them that we have to wait in line for them to fill our orders again. That's a success story.
I try to lift somebody up. You know, you don't know who's down and out. And I always give them encouraging words. And if I hurt anybody's feelings, my Bible tells me not let the sun go down on your wrath till you make it right. And I do. I do.
In the 1970s, the Campbell Soup Company began a charitable program of exchanging soup can labels for merchandise. Nonprofit organizations could acquire a brand new van for the small price of about 1.5 million Campbell soup labels. So the mission launched a campaign, and the word got out all around the country. The labels began to pour in by the thousands. In time, the mission had acquired enough labels to purchase a small fleet of vehicles. That's right. All the vans you see pictured here were purchased with nothing more than Campbell soup labels.
You know, little pieces of paper, but how much does this mean in soup?
Fran Woodworth is the mission's executive secretary. She shares some of the interesting statistics about those vans and the labels that purchased them.
This means that people eat 3,750,000 1/2 cup servings of soup, which is 15 million ounces of soup, or 117,187.5 gallons of soup. That's awesome.
But the thing that impressed me is by the end of the period when we were all standing there and talking to Justice about what had happened and that kind of thing, we could not finish the whole project. There was some painting left to be done, and so Justice says, well, leave the paint and I will paint it. And I just thought, you know, he's going to put in his part to make this a home for himself.
They share their love and their faith so openly with us that you can't help but feel God everywhere.
I don't feel alone. I don't feel afraid. Somebody broke my house, and they broke in my house, and he didn't worry me. It's stuff of this world don't worry me. I said, Lord, never let them tear up nothing. They just got what they wanted and went on out. All that bothered anything was what they got, and broke my door.
You know, the fact that you can go home at night and know that you've done something more than just earned a paycheck or filled a square. The reality is there's a great deal of need right here in the United States. I think a lot of times people fail to realize how much need there is in your own backyard, and we're a good example of that.
A lot of people I see, they love living down here. They all seem full of faith, very rich in spirit.
You really learn a lot from the people you are serving. It's something that school can't teach you. They've been through a lot. They do have a story to tell. It's usually a good one.
It's just so different out here. I come here and I'm always happy. Great God's country out here.
I came here when I was 1 year old with my parents and been coming back ever since. People in our country are in need, and I think it's important helping out right here in America, especially right here in Appalachia. I'm a student.
Yeah, this will go another.
My name's Mark. I'm 17 years old.
I'm from Warren, Pennsylvania, and I'm a junior.
Plays all over the country.
And I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
5 little leaves in there.
A wonderful job. I was just proud of her.
I'm Shannon.
She knows me now.
I'll tell you what's true failure.
It's so nice. Love you.
She lives here in this beauty and that she's truly blessed.
I think I get to meet the greatest people in the world.
God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin? Lord, we baptize our sister today, God, in the name of the Father, and the Holy Ghost.
I'm trying to get saved.
On a sunny Sunday afternoon, in a creek not far from her home, Lucy Collins was baptized.
And I've got a friend praying for me. Praise the Lord. He's praying for me.
At the age of 72, Miss Lucy was saved.
That's what makes me happy.
In spite of all the volunteers and dedicated people here, the mission at Redbird remains chronically understaffed. The mission is constantly challenged to make more out of less. Hard decisions must be made.
Don't tell them it's impossible. They don't know that.
Families have deep roots in these parts. Their faith remains unshakable.
The Lord will bless you for being kind to people.
For the people of Central Appalachia, faith, hope, and love are the Creator's greatest gifts.
Well, they've helped thousands of people right here in this community.
Without Redbird, I don't know what we'll do.
I love Redbird a lot.
I love Redbird.
I love Redbird.
Go on. You're not saying that buckwheat sound that most. Oh, did you hear him?